And we're back on the BayBears Pepsi Pregame show. Melanie Newman joined by closing left-handed pitcher Cody Wheeler. Cody, thank you first of all for joining us this afternoon.
Oh, not a problem. My pleasure.
Now, we looked at your career a little bit. You started out at Coastal Carolina, where you were a lights-out starter for them. You had a magnificent record. You were drafted by the Diamondbacks in 2010. You maintained your position as a starter until after your Tommy John surgery. So can you go through us a little bit for what it was like to transition from the opening guy to the shutdown guy?
Well, first, it's kind of just a different mentality. As a starter, you kind of have to pace yourself and kind of feel out the lineup without, using minimal effort as possible because you have to go 5, 6, 7 innings. As a bullpen guy, it's kind of come in the game and you got to change the game. You got to come in and, get guys out right away instead of trying to feel for it. So the transition, it's gone smoothly so far with some other bullpen guys who've had some more years under their belt, but so far I like it. It's a little bit, I think it fits my personality a little bit more to be a bullpen guy than a starter.
And now, this whole transition, as I mentioned a minute ago, came after your Tommy John surgery. What did you know immediately that something was wrong when you were pitching? Was this a delayed effect? Walk us through really what happened.
Well, my last year in college, 2008, 7, somewhere around there, pitched a lot in the last weekend. I threw four out of 5 days. I threw over 200 pitches. My arm was dead. I'd felt that before. It wasn't a big deal at the time. I came back the following spring training, felt pretty good. And then probably right towards the end, just had an outing, just a 2-inning outing. And the second inning, I couldn't throw any off speed. It just blew my arm up to throw. And so I went and got checked out and, did all the tests, and they said I was fine. But it turns out that I was fine because it was 100% torn. So, I had no feeling, none of the tests worked on me. So I had surgery later on that week.
And what was the rehabilitation process like for that?
I would say it was more of a mental grind than a physical grind. It was the physical aspect of the rehab wasn't that bad. It was just, obviously been playing since I was 5 years old and not much breaks in between. So taking, 12, 18 months off of competing against somebody else in the box was probably the biggest aspect of just trying to keep your head in because the rehab is really monotonous. It's the same stuff every day. So it was definitely more mental than physical.
And now that you're back full-time, you came up from Visalia to Mobile this year. How is your arm feeling with all of this? A lot of people end up having to have a second surgery. What are you doing to prevent that?
I just try to stay on top of my arm care. I try to stay as conditioned as possible, not necessarily strength-wise. That's kind of more of off-season. You need to build up for the season, but more conditioning, running, arm care, making sure shoulders are more in tune because a lot of guys, the problem is their elbow comes back so strong because they've done so much rehab for it, but they don't do anything for their shoulder. So now their shoulder can't handle the brunt what the elbow can now. So a lot of times guys have shoulder problems and it ends up, compounding different areas of the body. So I think it's been probably the biggest key to, keeping my arm healthy and feeling good.
And just one smaller question. Some guys think it's the white shades. Some look at the fighting necklaces. Other guys believe in the beard. What does your beard do for you?
Well, I'm kind of a tiny guy, and I'm left-handed, so I'm out there. I'm only a 5'10", so I got to give them some intimidation factor. So I feel like if they see the beard, they get a little intimidated. At least I think so, anyways.
This has been Melanie Newman with left-handed specialist Cody Wheeler. When we come back on the BayBears Pepsi Pregame show, Justin is going to take you through tonight's pitching matchup as we wind down a home series with Mobile versus the Huntsville Stars. First pitch at 7:05.